The undisputed light heavyweight champion Artur Beterbiev is coming to the UK. Come meet the man himself in Manchester and Birmingham on Saturday, the 30th of November. The tour continues in Blackburn on the 1st of December, and it concludes in Luton the following day. Tickets are extremely limited. Please follow the links below to secure your seat to meet one of the greatest boxers from this era. A truly unique individual who has inspired fans all around the world.
What will you treat yourself to, like, you know, from this for yourself, like present to yourself?
Nothing. Just go home and hug my mom.
Yes. How do you help your mum?
Hug my mom.
Oh, hug. Oh, that's beautiful. So you're going to go home and hug your mum. Before we jump into the boxing, I'm just going to let all our fans know, if you could do us a massive favor and turn on notifications. If you click on this video, you'll see on the right hand side there's like a bell icon. Click on that and turn on notifications. It just helps us to reach our fans with all the latest content. And also what I want to do from the next episode onwards is let the fans ask questions as well. So I want to do like a section where the fans ask questions. So Conor Benn, we're going to start with Conor Benn. Basically, we saw the news come out again last week. Still pretty unclear, but Conor released a statement saying that he's clear to fight. He's been cleared of any wrongdoing. Then we saw the statement from EUBANK, which came out a few days after. And the key part of that is that they said they've noted that Conor Benn's made a public statement today regarding his case. And they felt that they were not comfortably satisfied that EUBANK had proved that Mr. Benn had committed an anti-doping violation for the use of clomiphene. And then they also said that they couldn't basically release anything more than that.
Who couldn't?
EUBANK, sorry, and the NAPD. They
That's
couldn't
it.
release.
So EUBANK weren't happy. EUBANK have said that the NAPD said they weren't happy really with EUBANK's procedure. Is that what they're saying?
No, they said they're not comfortably satisfied that he'd committed a anti-doping violation, but they also said they can't release much more than that.
Yeah. Without the consent of Conor Benn.
Yeah. So you tell what does that mean, basically?
Well, look, let's think about the amount of time he's had out, and you know, it's, you know, we talk about this a lot, and what I've realised since, you know, when I go back to Kid Gallad's doping violation back in 2014, which is 10 years ago, how it's all changed, you know, how it's all been kind of trivialised. You've got Dillian Whyte who's failed 3 tests. And I think at one time, if you failed twice and got banned, you were kind of banned for life. But he failed the first one years ago. Then he got off on the second one. You know, they had an inquiry and he got off, and then he got caught again, and he's been off that one. So it kind of trivialised, and it's like Conor Benn's only ever failed one on a very minor substance, and they say it's for a lot of reasons why he use it. It could be used for masking, it could be all these things. But, you know, and then people say, no, he looked in tremendous shape. He were, you know, he must have been on peds. He looked, you know, he looked tremendous. Well, physically it might make you look that way, but it don't make you any better boxer. And realistically, you could argue the point that in all the time he's had out and the money he's lost, he's really been penalised enough. And it is a thing with UKAD is that it's their game to get people banned and get the numbers up, to prove that they're doing the job, and to, you know, justify why they've got an organisation, and it's the boxers' prerogative to get out of being banned. So, you know, I've dealt with UKAD, and I don't think it's a great procedure, to be honest, but that's what the procedure is, and you have to, you know, go by what they say. And unless you've got money, like Tyson Fury did, you know, against the Klitschko's, and he pressured him and pressured him, he got his way around. And same with Conor Benn, they got money, and they've gone through the, you know, the procedure, and it'll have cost him fortunes in solicitors and legal fees. And compile that with the money he's lost from fights, he's got to be well over 500, 600, 700 grand into it. Got to be. So that's been penalised enough, really.
What do you think from a boxer's perspective?
So I'd like to play devil's advocate. Number one, I want to hear something from the British Boxing Board of Control first in regards to it. Doesn't matter what anybody else has said. So until the British Boxing Board of Control come along and say it's clear to box, I don't think.
Well, you've
know-
got to remember, Johnny, that he's not licensed by the Boxing Board of Control, is
Yeah,
he? He's licensed in America, I think.
Okay,
somewhere.
that's what I'm saying.
So the only issue there is going to be is he could, whether he will or not, and he probably won't, he could apply for his Boxing Board of Control license, and for whatever reason they can knock it back, and they don't even have to give you a reason why. They can just do that. Then that could lead to a load of legal actions for them. Secondly, we're talking about EUBANK and Benn as a fight. Well, the board could actually not sanction that fight. They could say, well, EUBANK is a British Board of Control license holder.
Exactly.
We're not going to sanction that fight with Conor Benn.
Yeah.
Then there could be some legal action there, depending which way they want to take it. So, you know, there's a lot of problems. I mean, obviously the fight everybody wants to see, and the money fight for Conor Benn is EUBANK.
Yeah. So until the British Boxing Board of Control say no,
And they will
it's
follow
fine.
UCAD anyway.
Yeah,
they will
so,
follow UCAD
yeah,
anyway.
So until they said it, and we've not seen a statement. Well, I've not seen a statement yet. You'd have to wait. But my argument is this: before Conor's failed, he's failed the drug test as far as they're concerned, and he could have just said, you know what, all right, I've done it. He's not boxed since what last year.
Well, he's boxed something like 3 times in the last 3 years.
Yeah. So you talk about the financial penalties that how he's affected his career. You look at other fighters that have failed the drug test, they've done the ban and got on with the career. He could have easily said, all right, put my hands up, I'm done. He hasn't. So now it makes you think, well, really, you know, when there's been that element of doubt there, well, you've done it, you've just been busted. Now you're thinking, well, you know what, this kid's saying, nah, I ain't done it, I'm not putting my hands up to it. I could get my career started off again, but I'm refusing not to because I haven't done this. So it makes you now think, well, maybe, just maybe, you got to look at the reasons why, or the excuses why it could be another reason why he failed the drug test. You know, took it in some other way without him knowing. That's one. And two, my biggest noise is why is he the only name that we're hearing? You know, Conor Benn has a nutritionist, he has a dietitian, he has people around
it's
him.
strict liability, Johnny, so it don't matter what all these people are, it's down to him.
Yeah, but they're working with other people.
It don't matter though, but it's down to him, and that's the top and bottom of it. It's not, unless he turns around and points the finger at somebody and they get investigated, then, you know, and if he did that, and it was deemed to be true, then he would get off his ban, he'd get his ban reduced if he could prove that that's what
Yeah,
it
that's
was.
what, so therefore it makes you think, well, has he broke the rules, or has he just been silly and eaten something or ingested something without actually knowing it?
So I think the two big debates from what I'm reading from what fans are saying is that everyone wants to know what the ins and outs are. Obviously it was 2 separate tests. People want to know what the reasons were, and obviously they've now kind of disclosed that they don't really need to release the information. And I've seen from what Eddie and Frank Smith have said is that, like, if it was a criminal case, you wouldn't get all the information. It's like basically it's nobody's business in reality. If it's been sorted out by the people that govern the support, should that be enough? That's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah,
it
should be enough. And if he wants to, if there's something personal in there, you know, if there's something, let's just for argument's sake, the personal thing were that his missus were having trouble conceiving, and she was prescribed clomiphene for, you know, to help her with that, getting pregnant, which that's what they do with some women. And let's just say that he accidentally took the wrong tablets, and people might laugh and say, oh, it's not possible. Well, it is very possible, very possible. So let's just say that was the personal thing that he didn't want to disclose. Who knows? But he's in control of what information's released, and if he feels he needs to prove to people that he's not a cheat and he's done nothing wrong, then he can release that information for everybody to scrutinise. But the only problem with that is, even when you do that, and there's a very good reason why, and let's just say it is all legit what he puts out there, there will always be somebody who finds a conspiracy theory why that's not right. So realistically, he's never gonna prove all. There's always going to be people out there who are going to doubt him, and no matter what he does and what he tries to prove, it doesn't matter. They'll always doubt him, and so there's no point. So it's up to him. And at this point, I think, you know, we've gone on for this long enough. We've talked about it a long time, about, you know, the ins and outs and the benefits of it. Whichever way it is, he's been penalised. He's lost time. He's lost money. He's lost a lot of ground. He's lost years of his career, and, you know, he's almost like he's been on a ban. That's what it is. And there's been, like Johnny says, there's been other fighters, and Canelo was one who got caught with clenbuterol, who got his wrist slapped, And that's
Oscar
pure.
Valdez, he was allowed
That's
to
what I'm saying.
fight.
So Conor
Valdez
could easily say, look, and put his hands up. So it now makes me think.
Yeah, but if he put his hands up, Johnny, what would have happened is
It had took this leg.
he'd
Forget about
got
it.
a 4-year ban. If he'd put his hand, it's not a 2-year ban. If he puts his hand up, he's going to get a 4-year ban. So that's where the problem is. So if he did that, he wouldn't be off it. He'd still be getting his another year to go. So he could say that, and that's
2 years.
Well, another
But
2 years.
even if unless the boxing board of control say yeah we agree he's free to box, he's still gotta go apply for his license again with the British Boxing Board of Control, and then go through the ban that they would have put on him in that time.
Not really, because if he applies for his, if UCAD have been overruled, they've been overruled, and the board can't. All the board can do is, if he wants to go for his license, he don't have to get a British Board of Control license, does he? He don't need a
Yeah,
license.
but the fights he wants, it doesn't
because-
affect Chris Eubank Jr. It
No,
would affect
he
Chris
can,
Eubank
he,
Jr.
can, he can have that fight without having his Board of
Yeah,
Control license.
but Chris can't. So if he wants to fight a British opponent,
No, Chris can. It's just whether the board decide, for whatever reason, that they're not going to allow that. Because Conor Benn would be classed as an overseas fighter because he's got a foreign license. And the board have got the jurisdiction or the control of deciding whether their fighters are going to fight a suitable opponent. So it's down to the board. Now, realistically, the board could try and put a block on it, but then there'll be a legal challenge for like restraint of trade and whatever your reason is, and they'll have to disclose what it is. And if they say, well, it's because we think he's a drug cheat, or they can't work on they think he's a drug cheat because he's been cleared by the highest panel, by the highest authority. So Conor Benn doesn't need a British Boxing Board of Control license to box EUBANK. He don't. It's just whether the board will allow EUBANK, and this is the problem. If they don't, there's going to be a load of hassle because there's going to be a legal challenge. Of course there is, because Eddie's going to jump in there because they want to make that massive fight. There's big money over in Saudi, millions for that fight. So, what's it going to cost to make that fight? Well, if it's going to cost a legal case, what's going to cost hundreds of thousands? Well, they're going to do it. So it's all up in the air at the minute. And like you said, let's wait and see what the Board of Control have to say.
What do you want to happen, John? What do you think?
well, you know what? I like Conor. I think he was one of the fastest improving fighters we saw up until his career hit the stops. And so I'd like to see him just get back in the ring again. Fight. If you take your licks, and get on and fight. But you know what? The way he's standing his ground to say, I'm not doing it. I'm not putting my hands up to it. I'm now thinking I've got to commend him because this kid's losing what I think is the most important time of his career, standing up for what he believes in.
Another interesting part linked into this Conor Benn situation is, Johnny, what do you think would happen if Dominic Ingle bumped into Chris Eubank Jr.?
Tell him, because when we did our pod once, and I know they weren't happy with Dom's comments on Chris, and again I got a lot of time for Chris and these people. I loved how Dom just put it out there, but tell him what happened, Dom.
Well, one of his team phone you up and tell me to behave.
Yeah.
So Dom bumped into Chris Eubank Jr. For context in Dubai last week. He had Brad Cole-Smith fighting on the show there, and they sat in the changing rooms wrapping one of Eubank's
What do they call him? Avni Yildirim. Yeah.
So you're wrapping up Yildirim, and Chris Eubank Jr. walks in.
Well, I was wrapping.
The undisputed light heavyweight champion Artur Beterbiev is coming to the UK. Come meet the man himself in Manchester and Birmingham on Saturday, the 30th of November. The tour continues in Blackburn on the 1st of December, and it concludes in Luton the following day. Tickets are extremely limited. Please follow the links below to secure your seat to meet one of the greatest boxers from this era. A truly unique individual who has inspired fans all around the world.
What will you treat yourself to, from this for yourself, present to yourself?
Nothing. Just go home and hug my mom.
Yes. How do you help your mum?
Hug my mom.
Oh, hug. Oh, that's beautiful. So you're gonna go home and hug your mum.
Well, I was rapping. It's funny because I was in a separate change room with all the the normal fighters, and Yildirim had got his own change room because he was the top of the bill, and it was only at the way in the press conference I realised who it was. Yildirim, it's the guy who boxed EUBANK in 2017, and he boxed Canelo, Turkish guy. And his team came in because they needed somebody to wrap his hands, and I thought, which is a bit strange for a high-level fighter. There's nobody there capable of wrapping his hands. So I went into the changing room and I wrapped his hands, and I'm trying to talk to him, but obviously his English isn't very good. So I'm wrapping his hands, and you can see him looking at his hands thinking, this is good hand wrapping, because I'm quite good at wrapping hands. I've done it for like 30 years. And I'm just about to break into, you know, dialogue in the sense that, you know, when I wrap people's hands, you know, these wraps are going to help you knock people out, and he actually won by a knockout in that fight. And I'm just about to launch into this kind of banter, knowing full well he's not going to understand me. And I'm just about to say, and if you'd have, you know, I'd have wrapped your hands when you boxed Chris EUBANK Jr., you'd have knocked him out. But before I could get it out of my mouth, I just saw some feet shuffling outside of him. I looked up, and EUBANK was stood in front of me. And I just stopped, just carried on wrapping his hands, and he fair play to him, he looked straight through me as if I didn't exist, which is probably the best thing to do with people who are having a go at you. He talked to Yildirim, they buttered each other up, and, you know, good to see you, thanks for turning up to watch me fight and whatever. And then he turned around and left. So I finished wrapping up Yildirim's hands, and then I walked into the other changing room where my guys were. I had Brad Goldsmith and two young guys who I train who've got a license in Dubai to box. And I said, oh, we're all going well in there. I says, until EUBANK walked in, and I didn't realise everybody just quiet. And I thought, why is everybody quiet? And I looked round, and Chris EUBANK was sat on a chair, like smouldering a little bit. You know, I never realised it was sat there because it was so busy. I thought, put my foot in it there, like, but, you know, he did his own thing, had his little, you know, little team around him, and they sauntered off and watched the boxing. But yeah, it's funny when you see somebody in the flesh. I think the last time really I saw him close up, he was
Time Booth?
No. Well, yeah, but before, it might have been that time. But when he really did impress me is when I once saw him sparring Cole Froch at the Institute of Sport, and I saw Cole Froch. I could see with Cole Froch's style, it was obviously him in the ring, because I'd come down for some other sparring. I think I might have took Kell Brook down to spar Callum Smith, I think it was, and Callum Smith was an amateur at the time, just about to turn pro. And I saw Cole Froch sparring with this kid. I just saw it was a black kid, and he was having a bit of a tear up, and they were stood punching holes in each other. I thought, oh, that's an interesting, you know, combination. It was like, it must be some kind of American kid, because the way he's fighting, it's, you know, I didn't recognise his style. And then when he took the head guard off, it was Chris EUBANK Jr. I thought, yeah, he gave quite a good account of himself, because I've had kids sparring Cole Froch. And Cole Froch is a very, very hard sport. It's not an easy sport. It's like, I used to have to used to take 2 kids down to them. They do 6 rounds each, and every round was the hardest round of your life. So, you know, fair play to Chris EUBANK Jr. He stood in the middle of the ring with Cole Froch for about 8 rounds, having a punch up, and, you know, he did all right. So you have to kind of.
I never thought I'd see the day where Dominic Ingle would give Chris EUBANK Jr. a
Well,
compliment. What do you reckon,
you
Johnny?
I think Dom just says it how it is.
You give people the
It's
props
like-
for when you can see what they've got. So, you know, that's the thing. You see people in action doing it fair play. When they talk about stuff they're going to do, or, you know, they're talking up something that's like more than it is. That's what I've got the objection with.
And the thing is, if you're a fan outside of boxing, you see all the soap opera that's happening in boxing, Chris, Conor, Tyson, you know, the fans are like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. But inside boxing, I think boxers and boxing people, folk, they speak to each other in a different way. A fan wouldn't. So they're probably shocked by something what Dom probably did in the dressing room when Chris was there. But Chris will be thinking, yeah, it's one of those things. Gym banter it's a television show, because the things that I said to some of the biggest stars that are out there, you'd have no idea.
From a boxer's perspective, though, if you was Chris EUBANK Jr. and you heard Dom talk like that about you, I think the big thing in the last episode was where Dom basically argued that he'd not come from money, and I said I think he has come from money and made his own money in boxing. So if you was like Chris,
I think fighters respond when it's someone that's never been in boxing, because they've no right to say you can't box, you're rubbish, you're crap. They've no so that's where sometimes you'll bite and you'll bark at them. But when it's someone that's in the same profession that's been there, that's doing it, you say, oh, it's your opinion. You swallow it. You might have a word or two back, but it's when people have never done it before and they're telling you how good you are or how bad you are. And even when they say good things about you, you don't really respect it massively, because you think you don't know. Till you get in the ring and get punched on the nose, then you're not going to get the full respect a fighter would give another fighter.